Well, I want to go on to the AV system in a little while we've got you, because I think, seeing as both of them are coming in, we'll have a chat about that, because I think there's still a number of people who don't understand how that works. But before we go on to that, your vision for the future is to change the political, the way that politics are run in.
I think so, yes. I think politics has to change to reflect the nature of our lives now. Actually, we want a bigger involvement and we want a bigger say. And also Swindon has got lots of things happening to it. I mean, we talk about the idea of development on coast. That should be a foremost of things. The idea of actually how we develop our green spaces, how we're developing. These are big decisions being made now, so more involvement is the right thing.
Saying that, what's your position on it's in today's Swindon Advertiser, about televising or at least recording council meetings?
Well, have you ever been to a council meeting?
Once.
Yes, and did you think it was great?
I didn't go back for the sequel.
No, not many people would. And oddly enough, I mean, I'm not against this, but in fact, where it's happened, Bristol is an example, the viewing figures are incredibly low. You know, do you ever listen to the fishing weather forecast?
Only when John
on Radio
Prescott
4?
does it.
Yeah, exactly that. It's not exactly exciting TV, but I'm not against it because it does open it out and gives people the ability to see it. But it is, I mean, most people go to council meetings. They are not big entertainment. It's very rare that you get a lot of people there, and unfortunately a lot of people don't make use of them. We have a public question time so people can come there and direct questions to the council and get an answer. It's not that often used, and it should be. You should question the council more.
Do you think in terms of like the what gets said simply being recorded, and in terms of what gets said, do you think that's important compared to having the sort of written answer, the written record?
Well, I suppose in a sense it made people dress better. That's one example. You actually have people dress better on the council meetings, and in theory actually say the better, more correct things, whereas some meetings are just a lot of wasteful rhetoric is there. So it may have that effect. It'd be an interesting experiment to see, and also the costings as well. And I'm not against it, but there is a cost, and obviously one has to see how much interest there would be. It'd be interesting to see how many people would.
And at what level would you record meetings? How far would it go?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, and they say the examples around the country are not brilliant.
So interested or not interested?
Interested. I like the idea of participation and people to be ability to see it, but I would like to see it on an experimental basis first before we go into the full thing to see if people really are interested. It's like going to council meetings. It's very rare you have an audience. I mean, the audiences for most council meetings are one man and his dog, and I said you can get the dog to go. So that it's very rare you get audiences at council meetings unless it's a controversial issue. So people's interest is low unless they feel it affects them or they can have a role. And that's the two things we should make better.
Stan, before we go on to AV, and we'll take a short break before we do that, let me just ask you the question. How many of your current members are standing, and how many extra members are you hoping to achieve?
Right. Well, I mean, Martin Wiltshire is not standing this year, so we have a new candidate in the Ascot area. We are fighting every seat with the idea of actually giving people the chance to actually vote Liberal Democrat and getting a good councillor on there. And our hopes for this, actually, I think that make at least one or two gains.
Do you think that's possible in light of the...
It's going to be difficult without doubt, but I still believe that we'll increase in size. It just depends on the people, really. I think it's actually in their hands. But I think our hope is to maintain our 4 members and increase that.
We'll take a short break here. We'll be back and talk about the alternative vote system straight after this. We're back with Stan Pajak, the leader of the Liberal Democrats in Swindon Council. Stan, we've got the AV election coming up. The AV referendum, I should say, not the election. The AV referendum. What actually does AV mean?
What it means is it means that your vote will count. I mean, obviously what you're given is a choice of candidates. You put a preferential choice 1, 2 and 3 rather than just putting a simple cross. I mean, it's always happened in the past. If you voted for the wrong person, your vote had been thrown away. So the idea, it does give you the chance to make your vote count, i.e. your vote will, if your first preference doesn't succeed, your second preference comes into play, and you can vote for another party you feel will actually be the next best choice. So it does mean that your vote will count, which it hasn't in previous times.
So let's just have a look at the current system. The current system is that you put a big X on the person that you actually want. And if they are the person with the most votes, they become elected as a Member of Parliament.
That's it, yeah.
Now, with the current, with the proposed system, what you're saying is, If they get the most votes, they still might not become the elected member.
No, simply you have to get over 50% of the vote to actually become elected. It's as simple as that. And oddly enough, it's quite rare to actually get people with over 50% majorities. So what it would mean that it's like if there's three candidates, the third candidate would fall out with the lowest vote, and his second preference votes would go to whichever one. So you would have a second choice, and obviously then they would be recounted with those preferences going in, and then whoever gets over 50% would be the winner.
Be recounted. I mean, surely there's going to be an enormous amount. But as you say, rarely does an overall majority occur. So every single count we have is going to be a recount. Isn't this going to put an enormous amount of money onto the system?
No, not really. No, because it's not that difficult. I mean, we do have verification counts at most elections in any event. And there is an idea that actually that they could actually be helped by computerization as well. So there's lots of ways. So there isn't a great deal of cost in it. I mean, the idea of 1, 2, 3, it's not that hard in truth.
And is it only 3 choices you can make?
No. You can, if there's 6 candidates, you can have 6 preferences. As many as you want, or you don't even have to reflect that.
But doesn't that leave an awfully big opportunity for people to make mistakes on their ballot papers?
I don't think so. No, I mean, I don't know about you, but it's relatively easy to put 1, 2, and 3, 4. It's not that hard, in truth. So no, I don't think it would. And the examples we've had across, in operation, it doesn't happen that way. In fact, even the Labour leadership is done by alternative voting system. So even if Labour people can do it, I'm sure everybody can do it.
Is there any country where it's actually in place at the moment?
Australia is an example, and there's lots of variations of a theme. So it's in Australia is an example, but variations of alternative voting is there. It's not completely proportional, I have to say that. It's not the ideal system, but it's a step in the right direction.
When you say the ideal system, we're talking about proportional representation. Doesn't proportional representation, I'll say that again, doesn't proportional representation actually leave an opportunity for extremist parties to get a foothold?
No, it doesn't, no. I mean, this is a criticism that some people have given.
1933.
Well, without proportional representation, Hitler would have won very easily.
No, Hitler got 16% of the votes. No. It was the Iron Duke who had 47% of the vote.
Yeah, but I mean, he was actually persuasive, and actually, I think there wouldn't be an example like that. I mean, people sometimes use Italy, but again, Italy would a first past the post system would have actually elected various strange governments. So I don't believe that is a criticism. And in a sense, if you were voting here, would you put the British Nationalist Party as your second preference, third preference? I don't think so.
I think all parties who are in the election have laudable points of view to present.
Quite so. Yes, so no, it wouldn't have that effect.
That's the official line that I have to take.
Oh, right, I understand. No, so it doesn't allow itself for that, no. And in fact, where in Australia and other places you apply, it does work. I mean, this is the first opportunity to do it, and I think
you say that. But didn't Gough Whitlam 25 years ago? Didn't the governor of Australia have to stand in and remove the prime minister position from him?
That's true. That's very true. Yeah. I mean, politics is a funny game. I mean, we've ended up with a coalition government with first past the post. So lots of things can happen in politics. I mean, just take elections for example. If it was a tied vote, we'd decide it by the toss of a coin. So politics is a funny game, and sometimes strange things do happen.
So we've got the new system. We have we haven't got we're proposing a new system. If you only vote for one party, how are you going to assess the others? I mean, have people got to write 2, 3, 4, 5, and etc.?
No, they don't. No, I mean, it's up to you whether you actually put a second preference, third preference, depending on how you feel about it. I mean, what it does mean is obviously you could have your political preference, you could have your person preference, so those can actually play in there. So it does give you that ability to do that. And if you know that your candidate or your party is not to go in and says, well, if they don't go in, I definitely don't want party X, so therefore I'll vote for party Y. So it allows you more control, and therefore you can actually use your vote better.
Have you had a look at any of the current elections and seen how that might have changed had that system been employed?
Well, the general election, the Liberal Democrats would have gained, no two ways about that, but it would have still been, whatever would happen, would have been a coalition either between ourselves and the Conservatives and Labour, which would have been an example from the last general election.